Hello YouTube. Just starting a CNC journey here, wanting to make a CNC plasma cutter. So I thought I would just start by ordering a kit, I guess. And I got some stepper drivers, so 4 of them. So I got a 4-axis setup. And what I'm hoping to do is make a slave motor on one for running down the gantry kind of thing, but there's so much to it that when I first started, this is kind of like your breakout board, and then I downloaded a Mach 3 program to the computer, and I started fiddling around with that, and then I couldn't get my motors to turn, and then I kept looking at my breakout board, and then it was, so this was the first stuff I printed off. And it's an STB 4100 motion card, and because it had the same picture on it and Mach 3, I'm like, oh, I'll download Mach 3. And on Mach 3 I couldn't get my motors to turn, and I was fiddling around with the wiring, couldn't figure it out. And finally I got onto this Drufel CNC motion card. It's the same thing, but then instead of downloading Mach 3 on my computer, which it could be still to do with the Mach 3 demo program, is maybe why I couldn't get it to turn, but nonetheless, I downloaded the Drufel CNC, and that's what you see on the computer here. And I got my motors to turn right away. So I still, again, it's a journey. I know there's a lot to it, and I'm just gonna keep trying to document as I go all of the things that I've learned. So same thing when you do this, and then all of a sudden you realize, well, how do you get G-code? And that's another thing you'll hear with all this stuff. So then you got to download another program called G-code so that you can draw and print, do all this stuff. And then you take that from that program, and then you basically upload the G-code into this program, right? So there's CAM, there's CAD, and then there's CNC, all of these acronyms. And all of these things, they do a different step. And some programs have more than one step built in, and some programs are just to one step at a time. So basically I did this Inkscape, and then that rolls into the Drufel CNC. And so then just show, so in Inkscape here, I basically just wrote this hello, and then you can have your path tools, and then all of your basically your kind of your nodes as it draws it for a tool path. And I found it pretty confusing. I'm sure once I get better, I'll get it figured out. Nonetheless, I managed to get this G-code wrote, and I managed to get it transferred over to Drufel, and then that was linked to here. So basically this is the G-code that's all wrote down the side. I don't know how easy it is. I'll maybe go in, like right now, you can see that I have the hello wrote on the screen, and then I moved from my home point up to the O, and then it's basically the O, and then it'll move to the L, and then these lines here that you see, that's just its tool path. So it come over, and then it started on the O, and that's what it's kind of cutting out right now. And then your X-axis, Y-axis, and then this is all the G-code here, right? So then you can see right now, I just currently have my X-axis and my Y-axis that are wired in. So them go basically to the microstep drivers, X-axis, Y-axis, and then from the microstep drivers, they tie into the stepper motors kind of thing. And then it basically just tells, so I don't have the Z-axis right now, which would be your height coming up off the gantry. I don't have that one wired in, but this was enough for me to do a demo and be just figuring out before I actually start building my CNC table, I guess. So I'm gonna just hit start here, and then you can see the motor starting to turn. So as it's coming around the O, we'll see what it's gonna, right, so here it goes. So now it found the edge of the O, and then now it's making an actual cut. So if I had it dropped the Z-axis to 0.3 or 0.3 of a milli or an inch, which made it come down into the material. I don't have that motor, and then once it come down, and now if you were running a Dremel This would probably be like for an engraver, right? And then when I do plasma, you'd be holding that up off the table on the Z axis. But nonetheless, you can just see how these motors are working and coming around the letter O. It's amazing technology, but it is just to jump in and go, there's a lot to it. So hopefully over the next couple of months, I can just keep chipping away at this hobby. Oh, you can see that it's lifting the tool up now on the Z axis is what it would be doing. And then now it dropped it down, and now it's starting to cut the inside of the O. So, okay, so I'll keep you posted as I go. I ordered a Mach 3 motion board because I wanted to see. I'm not convinced that I want to use the Drufel program or the Mach 3 program. And then in behind that, I'm still deciding whether I'm going to use like Fusion 360 or this Corel program, or there's another one on Open Builds to write G-code. And then once I figure out what's the best G-code program, and as long as I can marry it up to the CNC software that's on my computer, then I can put that into cutting. So you do have to decide what software works for you, what's the easiest. And again, when you're a beginner, it is worth probably trying a few. So now I have Mach 3 and Drufel downloaded onto the computer, and then at least I can try and get G-code uploaded into them, try to spin my motors, see what program I find most user-friendly. And then I do need to get like proximity sensors hooked in here. I put an ESD button in here, and I currently can't get it to work. So all of that stuff, before I start actually building a table and getting a plasma cutter, I might as well do all of this bench work first, wrap my head around everything, and then start with the build concept. So, all right, take care, and we'll keep you posted.